Absolutely, and not just such a broad life, but a life that was involved in so many different interests, and he travelled so much of the world and saw so much. And not only that, but he was the sort of person that, once met, never forgotten.
Behind closed doors, a quiet prince ignited the most explosive power shift the monarchy has seen in decades. For decades, Prince Edward stayed in the shadows, the quiet brother watching his siblings dominate headlines. But today, he shattered that silence. Buckingham Palace has just announced something unprecedented. Edward has canceled Queen Camilla's long-planned European tour and appointed Princess Catherine as her replacement. Why now? What secret dossier forced this dramatic palace move? And could Catherine be the only one capable of saving the crown from a scandal that could shake the monarchy to its very core? Tonight, we go behind palace walls to uncover the intrigue, the power struggles, and the high-stakes decisions that are rewriting royal history. The earthquake that shook the palace. The official press release arrived at 6:47 in the morning, timed perfectly to dominate breakfast news across Europe. The language was sterile, bureaucratic, the kind of careful wording palace communications offices spend hours perfecting. Due to a restructuring of forward engagements, it read, "The planned European tour of Her Majesty the Queen Consort has been postponed indefinitely."
Once known as the other woman, Camilla is now the Queen. Kind of. The new king's darling wife has become the Queen Consort.
I know she will bring to the demands of her new role.
But it was the final sentence that detonated like a bomb. Her Royal Highness, the Princess of Wales, will represent the crown in forthcoming diplomatic duties abroad. In the corridors of Buckingham Palace, seasoned aides who had served 3 monarchs stood frozen, their phones erupting with frantic calls from European embassies demanding explanation. One senior private secretary whispered that he hadn't seen a power move this brutal since the family crises of the 1990s. This was not protocol, this was warfare. For Queen Camilla, reading her morning briefing at Clarence House, the news was not a postponement, it was a public execution. This European tour was to be her defining moment, a meticulously choreographed journey from Paris to Berlin to Rome designed to silence critics and cement her legacy. Every speech had been rewritten dozens of times, every gown selected with diplomatic precision, colors chosen to honor host nations, every handshake and photo opportunity planned with obsessive detail. She had hired coaches, consultants, and advisors to ensure perfection. Now it was gone, stripped away overnight and handed to the woman who made Camilla's decades-long rehabilitation look impossible by comparison. The insult was surgical and devastating, but Edward's decision was not born of malice, it was born of terror. For nearly a month, he had been haunted by a confidential briefing delivered by a grim-faced official from the Foreign Office, a man who understood the difference between political scandal and national security threat. The document he carried was stamped UK eyes only in red letters. This was not speculation, it was evidence. The dossier contained intercepted communications, financial audits, and diplomatic cables from British embassies that painted Camilla's tour as a potential disaster. It alleged that individuals within her inner circle had engaged in unauthorized negotiations with foreign entities. One proposed sponsor was a foundation under European Union investigation for money laundering. A scheduled meeting with a cultural minister had been arranged through a private lobbyist with ties to a sanctioned businessman. Another reception was being funded by a corporation seeking favorable trade terms, creating the appearance of influence peddling. To Edward, raised on Queen Elizabeth's sacred principle of never giving them a scent of scandal, this was catastrophic. He saw the ghost of 1992, his mother's annus horribilis.
It was in the splendid setting of the Great Hall at the City of London Guildhall that the Queen referred to 1992 as annus horribilis for her and her family. She spoke in unusually personal terms to hint at the misfortunes that have befallen the monarchy.
When private scandals became public infernos, he saw the ghost of 1963, the Profumo affair, when a minister's lies about connections to foreign intelligence brought down a government and humiliated the establishment. And with King Charles increasingly frail, his cancer treatment entering an aggressive second phase, Edward realized something terrifying. There was no one at the helm, The monarch was incapacitated by illness, unable to manage hour-by-hour crisis control, and the consort was steering toward disaster. What happened next would change everything. Edward called a private meeting with two of the few remaining aides known for unwavering loyalty to Queen Elizabeth's values. For hours, they reviewed every page of the dossier, cross-checking claims and correspondence. What they uncovered confirmed his worst fears. Some alleged sponsors were connected to organizations under international scrutiny. The monarchy was weeks away from a scandal that could erupt mid-tour. If this goes public, one aide said gravely, we won't just lose face, we'll lose faith. That night, Edward confronted Camilla's private secretary, demanding an explanation for the irregularities. The exchange was explosive. The secretary defended the arrangements as efficient coordination. Edward's response was ice cold. Efficiency is no excuse for undermining the institution my mother spent her life defending. Those words would echo through palace corridors for days. In the sleepless hours that followed, Edward struggled with his options. He couldn't go to the press without destroying the monarchy. He couldn't confront Camilla directly without igniting public war. But he also couldn't stay silent while watching the family's reputation spiral. The weight pressed down until one truth crystallized. The public's trust rested on only one figure whose dignity remained untarnished: Catherine, Princess of Wales. And with that realization came Edward's most daring move, a direct call to King Charles that would rewrite royal history. The ghost, the phone call, and the breaking point. At 11:37 at night, Prince Edward's phone call connected to his brother's private line at Sandringham. King Charles, worn by weeks of medical treatment, listened in heavy silence as Edward detailed the full scope of the impending disaster. The air between them crackled with tension. By the conversation's end, one thing was clear. Charles reluctantly agreed the tour could not proceed. For hours before making that call, Edward had paced the corridors of Bagshot Park, the dossier still open on his desk. He knew the risk of calling at such a late hour and knew the pain it would cause. But he also knew that delay meant greater danger. When Charles finally answered, the two brothers spoke not as princes, but as men burdened by impossible duty. Edward's voice remained steady as he laid out every troubling detail with surgical precision. The questionable sponsorships, the diplomatic arrangements that bypassed official channels, the looming headlines that could destroy credibility abroad. He didn't exaggerate or soften. Every word was weighed, every pause charged with gravity. Charles's silence spoke volumes. For decades, Edward had known his brother as a man of heart, compassionate but torn between affection and responsibility. Tonight, that struggle reached breaking point. When Edward spoke of Foreign Office warnings of potential fallout across Europe, Charles exhaled a deep, weary sigh. The monarch was suddenly just a man caught between love and legacy. Sources later described that call as one of the most emotionally charged moments of Charles's reign. Edward presented the evidence not as an attack on Camilla, but as a diagnosis of fatal illness in the crown's body politic. He appealed to Charles, the father and grandfather, the custodian of a dynasty belonging to William, George, and future generations. If this explodes while she's on foreign soil, Edward argued, his voice breaking only once, the headlines won't say Camilla's advisors erred. They'll say the crown is for sale. They'll say it's a new perfumo. They'll ask where the king was, and the answer will be that he was too ill and too blinded by love to protect the institution he swore to serve. That phrase, too blinded by love, was the cruelest cut because it held truth. Charles, his voice thin and rasping from chemotherapy, was trapped between his wife, who had stood by him through decades of hatred, and his duty to the institution that was both birthright and burden. For nearly 3 minutes, there was nothing but labored breathing on the line. Finally came the unmistakable sound of pen on paper. The authorization was given. The tour was dead. But as Edward set down the phone, hands trembling, he knew the real war had just begun. He had won the battle of protocol but declared civil war on Camilla's pride and vision of legacy. And wounded royalty, history teaches, is the most dangerous kind. To understand Edward's ferocity, you must understand the ghost driving him, Queen Elizabeth's legacy, and the family's vow never to repeat certain tragic chapters. The modern monarchy's greatest fear is not republicanism, but a repeat of the Diana effect, where a charismatic royal operates outside official systems, creating parallel power and splitting public loyalty. Camilla's team, in their zeal to rehabilitate her image, had accidentally built exactly that blueprint. They had hired private consultants instead of palace staff, cultivated foreign relationships outside official channels, and built a media network reporting to Clarence House, not Buckingham Palace. For Edward, the historical parallel was even more chilling: the Profumo affair of 1963. Not the intimate scandal itself, but what it represented: high society mixing with foreign intelligence, ministers lying to Parliament, webs of financial compromise that brought down a government and humiliated the establishment, including the royal family by association. The dossier suggested Camilla's circle had waded into similar waters, making the crown vulnerable to blackmail and exposure. Edward, whose life's work through the Duke of Edinburgh's award focused on building ethical leadership, saw this as the ultimate betrayal of service. His confrontation with Camilla's private secretary was not negotiation. It was an inquisition. According to sources present, Edward's voice remained calm but carried a cold fury that made seasoned courtiers recoil. "This is not efficient," he stated with surgical precision. "This is corruption of duty. My mother spent 70 years protecting this family from exactly this kind of entanglement. She understood that the moment the crown appears for sale, even symbolically, the social contract keeping us relevant is destroyed. I will not watch you dismantle her legacy in 7 months." The secretary's defense, delivered with professional smoothness, only enraged Edward further. "Modern royalty requires flexible partnerships," he argued. "Old rules don't apply in the age of global branding. Camilla needs to compete in the attention economy to remain relevant." This response confirmed Edward's worst fears. The philosophy was alien, a dangerous mutation of the code his mother had written through decades of sacrifice. This wasn't evolution. This was corruption disguised as progress. The theological rift over the monarchy's very soul, what it meant and who it served, forced Edward to that midnight call. He appealed to Charles not with constitutional authority, but with haunting reminder of their mother's shadow. "She believed the monarchy should never bend for convenience," Edward said softly, "and we're bending too far." Those words cut deep, echoing Queen Elizabeth's wisdom. As conversation dragged into early hours, Charles called in 2 senior advisors on standby since his illness worsened. Both agreed with Edward. Proceeding with Camilla's tour would be disastrous. Media was circling, eager for scandal, and the faintest hint of impropriety could trigger international spectacle. Edward's final argument was decisive. He spoke of Catherine not as replacement, but as salvation of royal grace. Her composure, consistency, and unshakable reputation for sincerity could restore public faith. "Let her lead this one," Edward urged. "The world still believes in her. She's the only one who can steady the ship." Silence stretched endlessly. Then came the rustle of papers and the sound of signing. It was not just bureaucratic approval. It was symbolic end of one era and reluctant dawn of another. Those close to the king recalled how he sat quietly afterward, staring into distance with the same expression worn at his coronation.
The moment of crowning has arrived. In the chair of St. Edward, with the crown of St. Edward.
Resolute, wounded by the crown's weight. At 2:47 in the morning, an internal message reached the palace communications office. "Cancel all European tour logistics. Prepare statement by morning." History had shifted. By dawn, the world knew. So did Camilla. What began as protocol quickly spiraled into one of the monarchy's most personal betrayals. Silent war and the betrayal from within. When Queen Camilla opened her morning briefing, she froze. Sources close to the Queen Consort describe what followed as a storm of disbelief. Inside Clarence House, aides reportedly heard raised voices, shattered glass, and chilling words. "He's finished." For Camilla, this was devastating. The European tour wasn't just another engagement. It was her opportunity to prove she could command international respect. Having it handed to Catherine felt like unforgivable humiliation. When Charles entered her sitting room that morning, he found Camilla pacing relentlessly. "Did you approve this?" she demanded, voice trembling between fury and heartbreak. Charles hesitated. That single pause confirmed her worst suspicion. "You let him do this. You let Edward humiliate me." The argument that followed was one of the most explosive in recent royal history. Charles insisted the move protected the monarchy, but to Camilla those words were hollow. "You think she'll save the monarchy," she reportedly hissed, referring to Catherine. "Then let her have it. Let her have all of it." What followed was a masterclass in silent aristocratic vengeance. At the first joint engagement, following cancellation, Camilla never once glanced toward Edward and Sophie. Within 48 hours, sympathetic pieces appeared in loyalist newspapers painting Edward as power-hungry and bitter. Yet this strategy contained seeds of its own destruction. One vicious leak accused Edward of being obsessed with his mother's ghost, to the point of destabilizing the king's health. Public sentiment crystallized with shocking speed. Social media turned viciously against Camilla. Meanwhile, Catherine's response was a devastating contrast. She didn't issue statements or leak to journalists. Instead, she prepared and served. Her first appearance was at a South London youth center, spending 3 hours gardening with children, hands dirty with soil. The contrast could not have been starker. The final catastrophic blow came from within Camilla's own ranks. A mid-level aide found herself burdened by conscience and made contact with Edward's team. What she delivered was documentary evidence that Camilla had ordered her team to dig up anything damaging on Catherine, Edward, and Sophie. This wasn't fighting dirty. This was a total war declaration against the dynasty's future itself. When Edward presented this evidence to the Lord Chamberlain and private secretary, the mood shifted from concern to cold aristocratic fury. Camilla had broken the sacred rule: never attack direct heirs or their spouses. In their eyes, she transformed from a rival faction into a threat to succession stability. The tribunal that changed everything. The confrontation happened not in a grand throne room, but in the king's private sitting room at Windsor Castle, a surprisingly modest space heavy with family photographs and portraits of past monarchs staring in silent judgment. Attendees were carefully limited. A frail King Charles, face gaunt from treatment, hands trembling as he gripped chair arms. Stone-faced Edward, carrying 2 leather folders representing 2 forms of institutional threat. Silent Catherine, dressed in navy, posture perfect, expression unreadable. And defiant Camilla, jaw set, eyes blazing with cornered fury. This was not a family meeting. This was a tribunal. Everyone understood the stakes. Charles, serving as both judge and afflicted party, spoke first, voice thin with fatigue. He pleaded for an end to public bleeding, begged for unity, reminded them the world was watching and enemies were celebrating every leaked story. Camilla launched into passionate defense. She recounted years of work, charities built, public rehabilitation endured, countless small humiliations swallowed to earn respect. She accused Edward of Messiah complex, of believing only he could preserve their mother's legacy, of exploiting the king's illness to seize ungranted power. But the emotional core of her argument, its fundamental claim to victimhood, had been hollowed by the mole's intelligence. Edward, when his turn came, didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He simply laid 2 folders on the table with quiet finality that changed the room's air. "The first file is the Foreign Office dossier," Edward said, gaze locked on Camilla with intensity that made even Charles look away. "It documents how your tour threatened crown integrity through financial and diplomatic entanglements, violating every protocol my mother established. That alone justified cancellation. This second file," he continued, voice dropping to barely above whisper, "documents your team's orders to dig up dirt on Catherine, on Sophie, to create scandals protecting yourself. You're not defending the crown, you're attacking the very future you claim to protect. You've become the ghost we all fear." The word ghost hung like funeral smoke. It invoked Diana, the charismatic outsider who threatened to overshadow the institution. It invoked scheming courtiers who toppled kings. It invoked the very shadows that had haunted Camilla's path to the throne. Decades of being called the other woman, the homewrecker, the villain. To hear that word applied now, after everything, cut deeper than any tabloid headline ever could. Catherine then did something extraordinary. She spoke not to accuse, but to absolve. and in doing so claim the throne of public sympathy completely. "Ma'am," Catherine said, voice steady and warm, addressing Camilla with protocol's respect. "No one here questions your dedication to the king or years of service. But this," she gestured to folders with genuine sadness, "this is not dedication. This is destruction. For the sake of George, Charlotte, and Louis, for the monarchy they'll inherit, it must stop. I don't want your tours. I've never sought to replace you. I want this family to survive." Catherine's invocation of the children was the masterstroke that ended the war. It reframed conflict not as petty power struggle between ambitious women, but as a battle for institutional survival beyond the current generation. It made Camilla's actions look not politically unwise but morally predatory, a threat to children. Camilla looked from Charles's pained, tear-filled face to Edward's immovable resolve, to Catherine's implacable, almost sorrowful calm. Defiance visibly left her body. Shoulders sagged. She saw complete collapse of her position. The king, despite love, would not and could not overrule his brother and heir's wife. The institution had chosen its path, and she was not on it. The agreement that emerged was unspoken but absolute. Camilla would formally volunteer to step back from major foreign tours, citing desire to focus on UK patronages and support the king's health. The era of Camilla as globe-trotting, image-defining consort was over before truly beginning. The baton of global representation had passed irrevocably to Catherine. The silent war was won, not with bang, but devastating quiet concession, spun as voluntary but understood by everyone as forced retreat. The new dawn and the shadows that wait, as Catherine's RAF jet lifted from Northolt for her first solo European tour to Switzerland and France, the imagery was pristine and powerful. Here was the future, young, graceful, untarnished. European leaders greeted her not just as princess, but as savior of British soft power. The press declared a Catherine cascade of positive headlines. Monarchy approval ratings soared to levels unseen since the late Queen's Platinum Jubilee. But in Clarence House shadows, perfection is the enemy and resentment is the patient gardener. Camilla's defeat is not disappearance. She remains queen consort, woman of formidable will, person who now has nothing to lose and everything to resent. History tells us wounded royalty is the most dangerous kind. Furthermore, King Charles's health remains the unstable bedrock upon which everything is built. His eventual passing will formally demote Camilla to Queen Dowager, drastically reducing her official power. That transition will be the next potential earthquake. The question keeping Edward awake is simple and terrifying. Will the woman who fought so ruthlessly for a crown accept quiet retreat into ceremonial irrelevance? Or will the shadows she now inhabits become staging ground for one final rearguard action? Edward's gamble secured the monarchy's short-term stability, but it may have guaranteed long-term tension, created a permanent fault line. Catherine flies high now, but she does so knowing she has made a powerful, permanent enemy within her own family's walls. The ghost of scandal was chased away, but the ghost of resentment has taken permanent residence in palace shadows. The crown is safe for now, but the family wearing it is more fractured than in generations, living in gilded peace built on forced concessions and bitter silence, and that crack will come. It always does. The palace doors may be closed, but the story is far from finished. Behind every smile, every wave, every carefully staged photo, the real game continues. Whispers in hidden corridors, secret meetings, and alliances shifting in silence. Who is truly pulling the strings? And what secret moves will decide the future of the monarchy? If you want to stay ahead of the next revelation, keep watching, stay close, and make sure notifications are on. History is being written in real time. Will you be ready when the shadows step into the light?
No public outbursts, just loyalty, steadfast and constant. While the royal household was often engulfed by turmoil, from the explosive divorce of Charles and Diana to Prince Andrew's scandals,
Prince Andrew is giving up his royal titles after a discussion with the king, the royal revealing in an October 17th statement that he is relinquishing his title as the Duke of York amid continued speculation into his relationship with accused defender Jeffrey Epstein.
Edward remained a silent observer, a guardian of secrets hidden behind the palace walls. People often wondered, who is this quiet prince who never makes waves? And now, at 61, Edward has finally broken that silence. The subject he chose is one that has long been considered untouchable: Princess Diana. But this isn't about tribute or gentle memories. It's about revelations that are shaking long-held assumptions, even among those who have always admired her. What prompted Edward to speak after so many years? Was it conscience, the weight of long-kept secrets, or simply a desire to tell the truth before it was lost forever? Whatever the reason, the quietest prince in the royal family has finally stepped forward, and the world is paying attention. Few people ever noticed the subtle but powerful connection between Diana and Edward. It wasn't a romance, and it wasn't rivalry. It was something quieter, yet deeply significant. A mutual understanding between two people trapped inside an institution that rewarded silence and punished emotion. From the moment Diana stepped into royal life, Edward observed carefully. He witnessed the cold stares, the ignored phone calls, and the forced smiles at ceremonial events when she wanted only to cry. Unlike Charles, Edward was approachable, warm, and genuinely caring. He asked, "Are you okay, Diana?" A small question, yes, but one that opened a door to a rare trust. Their encounters were few, but each one carried unspoken meaning. A former palace staff member revealed that when Diana entered a room, Edward was the only one who stood and approached her, not out of duty, but with genuine attention. He listened, something Charles rarely did. There are whispers that Diana once wrote Edward, "understands me in ways Charles never could." Their connection did not go unnoticed. In fact, Charles allegedly confronted Edward at Balmoral, demanding, "Why are you siding with her? She's tearing this family apart." Edward said nothing. He left the room silently, not in defeat, but in quiet defiance, protecting a woman who was slowly being worn down by palace pressures. Then came the tragedy of 1997. On that day, Diana's life ended in a horrific car crash, shocking the world.
We have reports from Paris that Diana, Princess of Wales, has been killed in a car accident, and that her partner, Dodi Fayed, has also been killed.
Witnesses say the only royal to cry openly was Edward. He quietly flew to Paris, requesting to see her body before it returned to the UK. The palace never confirmed it publicly, but insiders knew the truth. After her death, Edward withdrew even further, avoiding interviews and public events that would remind him of her. This wasn't forgetfulness. It was grief that had no proper place within royal protocol. He also kept his distance from Camilla, silently blaming her for part of Diana's suffering. At Charles and Camilla's wedding, Edward left a brief but pointed note. "May your happiness not come at the cost of others." For years, this note remained hidden until Edward, now 61, finally spoke openly. In private conversations, Edward confessed, his voice trembling. She didn't deserve any of it. Not loneliness, not betrayal. She was more royal than any of us. For a man long seen as the monarchy's quietest loyalist, these words shocked everyone who heard them. Once Edward began to speak, questions that had always been off-limits started to emerge. Was Edward's bond with Diana more than just empathy? Was there a connection that the royal family had intentionally silenced to protect its image? One thing is clear. In Diana's life, Edward was a silent anchor. He witnessed her struggles, protected her in silence, and preserved her memory. And now, by finally breaking his silence, he has set in motion a story the world never expected to hear. Diana's revolution. The royal family had always lived by strict rules. Maintain your image, protect your privacy, never display weakness. For generations, this was their unspoken law. Then came Diana, young and vibrant, who changed everything. She wore her heart openly, cried when she was hurt, and spoke honestly about her struggles. The public loved her for it. Edward watched it all quietly, absorbing each moment. While the family fought to control their image, Diana revealed the cracks in the system. Her role wasn't meant to be central. She was supposed to support Charles quietly, but Diana broke that mold. She connected with people on a personal level, visiting hospitals during the AIDS crisis.
The Broderick ward of the Middlesex Hospital is the only specially designed AIDS ward in Britain. Today, the hospital reckoned that the princess's visit was worth all the government propaganda put together.
Holding the hands of strangers and showing warmth in ways no royal had done before. The more she reached out, the more she exposed the gaps in the palace's carefully managed world. Edward observed everything from the sidelines. He didn't interfere, but he saw how Diana's courage and honesty were reshaping the monarchy. Diana's growing influence caused tension inside the palace. Her openness and sincerity were threats to a system built on silence and control. Yet Edward did not attempt to suppress her. He recognized what she was doing, changing the monarchy in subtle but profound ways. Her presence reminded the world that royalty was human, capable of emotion and compassion, something the palace had hidden for centuries. Yet her visibility came at a cost. Diana struggled to balance her individuality with the rigid expectations of royal life. She couldn't simply smile through pain, she revealed it. Her honesty endeared her to the public, but complicated life inside the palace. Edward, however, quietly understood her in a way others did not. He saw both the beauty and the danger of her openness, and remained a calm observer. Edward's role during these years was unique. He did not make public statements or seek attention. He remained in the background, watching the royal family cope with the sudden shift Diana had caused. She brought warmth to a distant institution, but also exposed its limitations. Her openness forced the family to face realities they had long ignored, yet Edward, ever discreet, observed silently. The challenge Diana faced was enormous. She had to maintain her identity while navigating strict royal rules. She dared to show her emotions, to connect with the world, and to demand authenticity in a place that prized tradition and control above all else. Edward quietly witnessed these struggles. He saw how her courage, compassion, and individuality reshaped the monarchy, while also understanding the personal cost she bore. Even as the public adored Diana, the palace felt unsettled. They had built centuries of tradition on quiet dignity, control, and distance. Diana's openness disrupted that. Edward, ever the silent observer, understood both sides. He knew that while Diana brought life and warmth to the royal family, her influence also highlighted the institution's struggles to adapt. In this way, Edward's silence was not absence, but attention. He observed, learned, and protected. He witnessed the cracks in the monarchy and saw Diana's struggle to balance her own humanity with the rigid expectations around her. Through it all, he remained the quiet protector of her legacy, watching, understanding, and waiting for the moment when the truth could finally be told. Tragedy and silence. August 31st, 1997 was a day that changed everything. The news of Princess Diana's sudden death in Paris hit the world like a thunderclap.
Good evening. The princess who spent her life in the relentless glare of the public eye died in a speeding car in Paris, apparently trying to evade pursuing photographers.
Shock, grief, disbelief. People everywhere struggled to process that someone so full of life, so universally loved, was gone. Streets overflowed with mourners, sidewalks glowed with candlelight, and flowers piled high outside Kensington Palace. Even those who had never met her felt the loss. Diana wasn't just a royal, she was a symbol of hope, warmth, and compassion. People felt as if the world had lost someone deeply personal, someone who had connected to them in ways the monarchy rarely allowed. Inside the palace, the response was markedly different. The royal family adhered to centuries of protocol, remaining quiet and distant. No immediate statements, No lowered flags, no visible grief for the public. In a world hungry for emotion, this silence felt cold and out of place. The public waited, desperate for a sign that the monarchy felt what they felt. Why was there nothing? Did the royals even care? The world questioned their humanity, wondering if centuries of tradition had hardened the family beyond feeling. Edward remained in the shadows, quietly absorbing the tragedy. He wasn't Diana's husband, nor her child. Yet as her brother-in-law, he had witnessed her life closely. He had seen her courage, her struggles, and the immense pressure of the royal system that often failed to protect her. While the world mourned, Edward grieved privately. His sorrow was profound, and unlike the rest of the family, he allowed himself to feel it without performing for the public eye. Edward's role in those days was uniquely personal, a witness to a life loved and lost, and a keeper of truths that few others could fully understand. The silence from the palace shocked the public. They expected visible sorrow, gestures of mourning, or some acknowledgement of Diana's impact. Instead, the reserved response highlighted a disconnect. The monarchy had always relied on discretion, but now the world was witnessing how tradition could clash with human expectation. Edward watched quietly, knowing the public's anger was valid, but also understanding the palace's adherence to protocol. Diana's death was not just a personal loss, it was a turning point for the monarchy. For decades, the family had managed its image carefully, controlling every public display. Now, the public demanded more than images or words. They demanded emotion, acknowledgement, and humanity. Edward observed this tension silently, aware that the royal family's methods of the past no longer aligned with modern expectations. Breaking the silence. Years went by. Interviews, films, and documentaries revisited Diana's life. Her story was told from countless perspectives, journalists, biographers, and family members. But Edward stayed silent. Until now. His decision to speak breaks decades of tradition, secrecy, and quiet observation. Unlike polished palace statements, Edward's words were raw, honest, and deeply personal. He did not defend the crown. He did not soften the past or excuse the mistakes made by those within the family. Instead, he presented his perspective. Diana never fully belonged in the royal world. Her warmth, openness, and emotional honesty were celebrated by the public, but seen by the palace as vulnerabilities. Edward emphasized that her loneliness and struggles were not only personal, but also structural, the result of a system unprepared to accommodate someone so real, so expressive, and so human. The timing of Edward's revelations is significant. The monarchy is again under scrutiny. New voices question its relevance, fairness, and adaptability. Edward's words resonate not only as reflections on the past, but as commentary on the present. They bridge decades, reminding everyone that the challenges Diana faced are not entirely history. They are lessons still relevant today. Edward's honesty has deeply affected the royal family. King Charles reportedly experienced a mixture of shock and reflection. His past decisions, the fallout from his marriage to Diana, and the public's judgment are all revisited in light of Edward's statements. Prince William, always balancing his mother's memory with his future responsibilities, now faces renewed questions about how to honor her fully without reopening wounds that the family has tried to manage for years. Prince Harry, who has long spoken openly about his mother's struggles, may see Edward's honesty as validation, but also as a reminder of unresolved tensions within the family. Beyond the palace walls, Edward's words sparked intense public debate. News outlets quickly disseminated his comments. Social media erupted with discussion, analysis, and strong opinions. People compared Diana's experiences to modern royal controversies, questioning whether the monarchy has truly learned from its past. Edward's perspective offered a rare insider view, a window into a world that had always appeared polished and untouchable. For many, his words were not just revealing, they were cathartic, offering a sense of understanding and connection. Edward's approach is strikingly different from that of other royals. Charles speaks formally, carefully, with caution and restraint. William honors Diana, but separates her story from his own path toward kingship. Harry speaks from the pain he carries as her son. Edward, by contrast, neither seeks attention nor sympathy. He speaks quietly, deliberately, focusing not on himself but on revealing what he witnessed. His words illuminate the human reality behind the royal image, showing both the pain Diana endured and the pressures of a system that often valued protocol over compassion. His revelation is more than a personal confession. It is a critique of the institution itself. The monarchy has long relied on discretion, image management, and controlled visibility. Edward's words challenge that system. They highlight the cost of silence and the price of maintaining appearances at the expense of humanity. His insights prompt a crucial question: can the monarchy survive without adapting to the modern demand for transparency and emotional honesty? Edward's statements also stir public reflection. His words reopen conversations about accountability, empathy, and historical mistakes. Ordinary people online engaged in vigorous discussion, revisiting Diana's legacy, her treatment by the royal family, and the parallels with contemporary issues involving younger royals. His honesty prompts fresh debate. Could the monarchy endure if it fails to acknowledge past errors and embrace openness? Inside the family, reactions are complex. Charles is forced to reconcile with past choices and lingering guilt. William is tasked with balancing his mother's legacy with his responsibilities, considering how much truth can be shared without destabilizing the family. Harry, having long felt marginalized and misunderstood, sees Edward's acknowledgement as validation, but also as a reminder of persistent divisions. Edward's words act as a catalyst, forcing the family to confront truths long left unspoken. Edward's voice is calm, yet powerful. By revealing what he knows, he has sparked reflection, debate, and reconsideration. Diana's story is no longer confined to memory or media retrospectives. It is alive again, reshaping conversations about the monarchy, its traditions, and its ability to adapt. His choice to speak demonstrates that silence, no matter how long, cannot erase history. Public responses range from admiration to criticism. Many praise Edward for courage, for finally sharing what the world had long suspected, that Diana's pain was not just personal, but systemic. Others question why he waited so long, suggesting motives or strategic timing. Edward, however, is neither seeking praise nor defending motives. His goal is clarity and honesty, to share a perspective shaped by years of observation and care. The ripple effects of Edward's words go beyond the family. They influence public perception, social discourse, and even expectations of the monarchy. His statements encourage new conversations about fairness, empathy, and emotional transparency within institutions that have historically valued image over truth. By speaking out, Edward has reminded the world that accountability and honesty are more than personal virtues. They are necessary for any institution seeking legitimacy in the modern age. Edward's revelations also raise questions about the future. If someone as reserved and loyal as him is willing to speak, who else might follow? Will younger royals feel empowered to share their truths, or will tradition and fear of backlash keep them silent? Edward's voice challenges the status quo, forcing the family to consider whether openness might strengthen the monarchy or expose vulnerabilities too great to bear. Diana's story continues to echo through the halls of the palace. Through Edward, her struggles, compassion, and courage are revisited, reminding the world of what was lost and what remains unresolved. His words reopen discussions, spark curiosity, and challenge long-held perceptions of the royal family. They bring both clarity and complication. shining a light on truths that many had preferred to forget. Ultimately, Edward's choice to speak is more than an act of personal honesty. It is a catalyst for change. It shows that truth, even when uncomfortable, has value. It demonstrates that silence does not heal, but delays confrontation with reality. And it confirms that Diana's legacy, her life, and her struggles remain central to understanding the monarchy's past, present, and future. Edward's quiet revelation has proven that even the most loyal and reserved voices can alter the narrative. His words challenge the royal family, engage the public, and reignite conversations that could shape the monarchy for decades to come. The story of Princess Diana, long thought settled, is alive again, complex, raw, and unflinching. And thanks to Edward, we are reminded that the truth, no matter how long it waits, has a way of emerging. If you found this story as revealing and unforgettable as we did, don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends, because Diana's story and Edward's truth deserve to be seen by everyone.